This is part 2 of the observation packet video. These observations are going to be beneficial to you as a student because they will help you understand the areas that you would be better fitted for teaching when you become a teacher. For example, I have had students that went in and observed in kindergarten and they realized very quickly, I thought I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, but after I saw that, I realized I don't have the patience it takes to be with people that young all day long. So they've shifted gears and said, I want to teach fourth grade. And I've even had some that came back and said, I definitely am geared to high school and I want to teach in high school, thinking they wanted to be an elementary teacher. So this is a good time for you to kind of get your feet wet and see what actually happens in each classroom setting. Okay, let me specifically explain to you the procedure for getting all of your 30 hours of observation. You are to get a minimum of 5 hours at each level in the school classroom. There are 3 levels, which makes a total of 15 hours in the classroom minimum. Okay, so you will do 5 hours in elementary, which is K through 4. You will do 5 hours in middle school, which is grades 5 through 8. And you'll do 5 hours in high school, which are grades 9 through 12. Now, some of your schools are going to be set up, elementary is K through 6, and high school is 7 through 8, and they only have the 2 separate divisions. But what I need you to understand is if you go to the elementary and you do grades K through 4, and then let's say you do a 5th or a 6th grade, that will be considered your middle school grade level, even if it's in the elementary building. And then if you go to the high school and you do a 7th and 8th grade, then that too is lumped into your middle school. And then you will do the grades 9 through 12 for the high school. So you may just have to sort that in your own mind if the buildings are not distinguished as such. So you get a minimum of 15 hours. So that's half of your observations. Then you have other observation requirements that you have to participate in and observe, and then you can go back into the classroom to make up the rest of your hours if you want to. You must get 2 hours of observation for a ball game. I allow 1 ball game for 2 hours. You can do both of those at the same time on the same night. Typically, if you go to a senior high ball game, you can watch the girls play and then the boys play, and that would be your 2 hours of a ball game. If you chose, hey, I want to do a junior high and 1 senior high, that's fine too. You can do a junior high, boys or girls, your choice, and then you can go on another night to a senior high and get your other hour of a ball game. I will allow you to do an additional 2 hours in addition to the mandatory 2 hours. I will allow no more than 4 ball games, which means 1 hour for each ball game. Okay? So you have to do at least 2 hours watching 2 different ball games. But if you want to go back, and you might do this every Friday night, that might be what your family does, is you go to a Friday night football game. That's fine. You can count, I will count up to 4 hours I will allow. So you do the minimum of the 2 hours, and then you can do the additional of the extra 2 hours at a ball game. But no more. I will not allow more than 4 hours for a ball game. You may also get, or you must also attend a school board meeting. You can get up to 2 hours. Now, some school board meetings, for the most part, they've got those down to a science. They start at 6:05 and they end at 7:05.
It's 11:30.
So you can get 2 hours you could attend 2 school board meetings. I am okay with your attending the designated school district in which you're doing all of your observations and going and visiting a nearby school district for their school board meeting, because that would give you a diverse picture of how 2 different schools handle their board meetings. That would be very advisable. I've done that myself. I've gone to a variety of schools to do observations at the school board meetings, just to see the difference in how this school handles it as opposed to how this school handles it. So you get 2 hours, you're required 2 hours of a school board meeting. Now, you don't have to go to a neighboring school. You can get both hours at the assigned school district for that, but you are allowed, I will allow you to step outside if you would like a little diversity. You may get other hours, and I do not have a set limit on the extracurricular. You could fill the gap with all of the other hours in the extracurricular. So here's a mandated 4 and 2 and 2 is 4. You've got your 15, so that puts you at 19. So now you are 11 hours that you still need to get. You can do extracurricular activities for all of those, or you can do some extracurricular and then go back into the classroom to get the remainder. I do expect extracurricular activities though. Extracurricular would be, it's the fall season that, if it's the fall season that you're doing this, you can attend fall festivals at the school, back to school welcome parties and things like that. You can attend concerts, choir concerts, band concerts. Sorry about that. You could attend a class presentation or a play. You could attend any function that the school offers. Field trips. Field trips are another opportunity, especially in the elementary. They do a lot of field trips. And if you could go along, and every school that I've ever said, they are also available for field trips. The principals have become very excited because they said, we are always needing extra chaperones. Yes, I would allow you to count up to 4 hours, but no more. If they go for a whole day and it's like a 6-hour field trip, you can only count 4 hours of that as your observation field experience hours. But I do allow field trips. So any extracurricular that the school is having, you're allowed to go and count those as hours. Okay, right here it says students may not complete their internship where they did their observations, where they graduated high school, where they have family members employed, or where their children attend school. Okay, now this has to do with internship, not your observation. Also, I have several options of transfer places for you to go once you complete your ASE with us. Most all of those other institutions require these stipulations on the internship. You cannot do internship where you did your observations. You cannot do internship where you graduated high school. You cannot do internship where you have family members, nor can you do internship where your children attend school. However, there is one school option, and that is the University of Arkansas Monticello. That rule, or these rules, do not apply if that's where you transfer to complete your BSE. We can talk more individually about that later if you're interested in those options. If you're not close to being ready for that yet, that's okay. We will come back to that, and you can certainly always ask me questions later about that. Okay, In preparation for your first visit, this is a must. You must prepare envelopes for each cooperating teacher that you're going to observe. You're going to purchase and attach a mailing stamp on the envelope. I have had students in the past that I received messages from their teachers that they went in to observe and said, it's almost the end of the semester. The student has been observing here for quite some time, and I have never received an envelope to mail this back to you. So what do I do? Well, certainly that brings your grade down quickly. But you must purchase an envelope, purchase a stamp, place the stamp on the envelope. You're going to put a copy of the evaluation form in the envelope. Part of your grade is pending on this evaluation form. So if I don't get evaluation forms, then that percentage of your grade will be a 0. You are to give one envelope that is inserted with the evaluation form to each cooperating teacher that you observe. Now, if you go in and observe Mrs. Brown 5 times, do not give her 5 evaluation forms. I only need one form. Even though you may have observed her, I don't think you'll observe one teacher 5 times, but I do not recommend that. But you will not give her a form every time you observe. You only get one form, and then they will fill it out and mail it back to me. As you are preparing those envelopes, you are going to make sure that you put my name and my mailing address here at the college on the outside of that envelope, because the teacher doesn't need to do anything extra other than fill out the evaluation form and then just drop it in the mail. This is just a little helpful tip, and I'll go over in just a moment with you the actual letters, but this is just a little helpful tip. If you're calling the school to set up your appointments, don't call between 7:30 and 8:30, and do not call between 2:30 and 3:30, especially in an elementary school building, because there's a lot of activity that is transpiring at those time frames. The best times to call is usually anytime from 9 o'clock to about 11 o'clock. Now, another time frame to try to stay away from is 11 to 12:30. If you do happen to call at the 11 to 12:30 time, the secretary is usually pretty good to take the message and have the principal to call you back, which will probably be the case anyway. Make sure that when you make that initial phone call after I've given you the freedom to, hey, you may now contact, and I'll give you the contact information or the contact name of the principal and so forth. It will be up to you to find the phone number. You will introduce yourself and explain that you are an Ozarka College student in the teacher prep program, and you need to arrange days and times to complete your observation for the Introduction to Education class. And remember, I will have already spoken to them, so they will be very familiar with what you are asking to do. You may also ask to speak to the observation teacher that you will be assigned to, but that may not happen because teachers are in class. So you might just leave a message for that teacher, or at least see if you can get that teacher's email address so you can make contact with them. I highly recommend you get each teacher's email address, and I highly recommend that you send them a welcome or a greeting note thanking them for allowing you to come and observe, and just make touching base with them that you will be there at this designated day and time, and the principal has assigned you to their classroom to observe. I would highly recommend that, to give them a heads up. I used to be a classroom teacher myself, and I remember, even though the student and the college made the necessary arrangements through the office, oftentimes the office would get inundated with many other things, and they would not make it to my room to tell me that this is going to be transpiring, and a student would just show up and I'm just standing there clueless. So I was always okay with it, but I knew of other teachers in my building that they would hit panic mode when they knew that someone was coming in unexpectedly to observe them. So please do not do that to those teachers. Go ahead and make that initial email contact with them. Okay. These are your general responsibilities of how you are to represent yourself. I'm going to expect you to read that. I've already covered this for the most part. I do want to point this out to you. Make sure that you are familiar with the school calendar and the schedule of the school where you're going. You can find that on their website. I would be receptive to being an active partner in the schools, in the classroom. You are not there to teach, but if a student wants you to help them, the teacher is busy, the student wants you to help them, ask the teacher first. Make sure that that teacher, because not all teachers want someone else coming in and helping their students. So just say, he has asked if I could help him with his math problem. Are you okay with that? More than likely, most teachers are going to say, yes, please, because it's hard for one teacher to get to each individual student. So having a little extra help in the classroom is great. Students are going to look to you, even though you're an observer. Oh, let me make sure I point this out. You're there to observe. You are not there to grade papers. But as I said, you can work with the students. So you're not there so that you can sit and catch up on the teacher's grading. But if she does need, or he does need assistance with helping the students one-on-one, that's fine. The students are going to look to you as an example. So you must use proper grammar and appropriate language when speaking. Complete all of your assignments that are related to your observation experience. Remember this, you're there, you're also supposed to be journaling. So you've got to complete your journaling assignments while you're in there. You are never there to be the substitute teacher during your observation experience. If the teacher does have to step out for a moment or two, an emergency arises, that's unforeseen, and as long as it's a very brief, that's okay. But you are liable for anything that happens in that classroom. So please keep in mind, you are not there. If she decides, hey, I missed lunch today, would you, while you're in here with my students, I'm going to go down and eat my lunch. No, you make sure that that does not happen to you. You are not there to be the substitute. You are extremely liable, and that's a big ordeal if anything happens in that classroom. You also should not be leading the class discussions. You can join in if prompted by the instructor, the regular classroom teacher, but you should also never be left with unsupervised students. Keep an accurate record of all of your observations. I have a log sheet for you to complete, so make sure that you do that. Be sure that you have your observation teacher initial your log daily and sign it. Now, if you're there 3 days in a row and you want to wait and have her to initial it at the end of that 3 days, that's fine, but make sure that you document daily. I was here from 9 to 10 or 9 to 10:30, okay? And then you can have her to initial that, yes, you were here at this time, and this time. She has to initial all 3 different time settings, okay? Remind your supervising teacher about the teacher evaluation, because part of your grade is depending on those teacher evaluations. So if you wait until the very end to get those evaluations turned in, or you forget to give them to them, your grade will be deducted because I've got a missing evaluation form on you. Okay, establishing your observation. You are going to turn in to me your top 3 choices of schools, and I will select, sorry, my phone was ringing. I will select well, I won't select, but I will start making the phone calls. Put your top choice as number one. And typically, I've been able to get every student into their top choice. If for whatever reason that school cannot accommodate an observing student at this time, I will move to your second choice. And I will let you know. Then you will make an appointment with the principal of each building, elementary, middle school, and high school. And then you will be given the teachers that you will go in and observe. And it's up to you then to get their email address so that you can make contact with them. I have letters in the packet that you're going to give to the principal as well as to the cooperating teacher upon your arrival. And it's just a letter from me that is thanking them for allowing you to come into their school and their classroom and do some observations. You may want to offer them your observation schedule. You will have to complete your observation schedule and turn it in with your packet. I need to see, I've already got this all set up. So once I release you to make contact with the principal, you need to make sure that you get in contact with each principal and you get these observations scheduled. And then you will have to submit to me your schedule of observations, and I need to know that you've got them all organized and all laid out. Even the extracurricular and the school board meeting, you need to get that on your schedule as soon as possible. So you may have to go onto the school website to find out when they are having their school board meetings, and you can also find out about the extracurricular events on the school website. So upon completion of your observation hours, you're going to submit this packet. This is going to be due the week before final exam. And actually, we'll talk more about that later. But you will submit this. This packet is part of your final exam. You're going to do an interview with me, and you're going to submit to me your completed portfolio, which will include all of your observation material. You can scan or take pictures of your material, or you can present to me hard copies. Now, I'm leaning more towards submitting everything online because I'm trying to keep online files now instead of hard copy files. So we will talk more about that later in other sessions when it gets closer to submission time. But I think I want us to go more now to submitting all of your documents online so that I can keep online files. Remember that you must complete this entire observation of 30 hours and all of the required work that goes into this portfolio, such as your essays. We'll talk about that in a moment. Your log sheets, your schedule of appointments that you've set up. Make sure that you have all of those documents because that's part of your portfolio packet for your final exam, or you will not pass the class if you falter in any way in this observation assignment. This is the letter to the principal that you will submit. You will make a copy of this and give this to the principal. Each principal, when you arrive at their building to begin your observations, or if you go in person to meet with him before you begin your observations, which I highly recommend, then you can submit this letter to him at that time. And then I have a letter for each of the cooperating teachers thanking them and kind of laying out generalities of what is to be expected of you while you're there observing. This is the portion that goes with the evaluation form. So what you will give this to the teacher as you are leaving, as you are finishing up with her, or however you choose to structure it. So this is to introduce the activity to the teacher, each teacher, and then this is to introduce the idea of the evaluation form. Okay, so the teachers are then, this is the second page that goes in the envelope. This is to be placed in the the addressed to me stamped envelope so that the teachers can mail these back to me. There is the letter explaining how to go through the procedure, and here is the evaluation form. And these teachers do take time to actually complete these, and you will notice that I will be looking at their response. And if they tell me a no, they usually tell me why down here. The majority of my students get all yeses, and then down here they get, she was such a wonderful joy. He is going to be a great teacher. I cannot wait to see him in his own classroom. So I get all kinds of really positive comments. I have received the negative comments, which does affect your grade. So be aware of that. This is the rubric that I'm going to grade you by based on your essays. Now, this rubric, you're going to write 3 essays, only 3 essays at the end of your observations. The first essay is based on your teacher interviews and your teacher observations. This is based on what you saw in the classroom. You're going to write 1 essay and you will put it all together. You can lump it in 3 different paragraphs. I did elementary, I did middle school, and I did high school. So 3 main paragraphs here. In your introduction, you will introduce the teachers that you observed and interviewed while you were there. The subjects and grade levels of each one of those teachers. You're going to give me an introduction to all the teachers that you observed in 1 essay. And then you're going to do the body paragraphs, and as I said, it should be 2 to 3 paragraphs. I would lean toward at least 3 paragraphs because it tends to work better if you can separate the K through 4, grades 5 through 8, and then teachers grades 9 through 12. And you're going to express to me the key questions that you asked each of those teachers, the things that you observed while you were in the classroom. You're going to provide descriptions of the activities that both the teacher and the students did. And I do have some sample questions down here that you could use in just asking the teachers certain questions. You may not have a lot of time to talk with the teachers because they're going to be busy teaching. So if you just have time to squeeze in 1 or 2 questions, that's okay. Just make sure that you indicate that in your essay so that I will know why your questions seem to be a bit weak. But that's also where you can tell me, as I talked with these teachers, I found out that, the majority of them felt that their greatest challenge was, and you'd be surprised at how much these teachers' answers might be very similar. The last paragraph of your essay on your teachers and your observations is going to cover your opinion and your analysis based on the questions as well as the activities that you observed. This is where you're going to analyze what you saw in the classroom. You're also going to make some statements of what you saw in the classroom. How is that going to then turn around and be helpful to you as a teacher in your own classroom? Make sure that your essay is in complete MLA format, and we've talked about that a lot already since classes began. Okay, and then here is, you're going to write a second essay based on going to the school board meeting. If you went to 2 different schools, then you need to indicate that in the introduction paragraph. The opening paragraph needs to tell me about the 2 different schools that you observed a school board meeting. If you went to the same school, then you're going to just tell me about 2 different school board meetings that you attended. The body of this report should be 2 to 3 paragraphs, and this is where you're going to discuss things such as the school board procedures, how did they open and close their meetings, what was the makeup of the school board, who were the members, and what was, for example, I've been to school board meetings where there's only one woman on the board, the rest are men. I've been to school board meetings where it's an all male board member makeup. So what is the makeup of the board, and also what is their profession? Is it a conglomeration? Do we have farmers as well as professional businessmen? Is it all just professional businessmen? Just what is the makeup of the school board? What was their agenda? You'll want to include a copy of the agenda as one of your artifacts. So make sure that you have a copy of the agenda. You can find those on the school website. What was the feeling and the tone? Was it very laid back? I've been to school board meetings that are just very laid back, just very informal. And then I've been to some that are very uptight. They're very formal. They're very rigid. They follow the rules and the procedures to the T. What was the effectiveness of that school board meeting, and how efficient was that board meeting? Was there cooperation among the board members, or did only one person seem to have all the control, or was everybody totally involved? What about the guest? I've been to board meetings where I've been told that in the audience the guests are to be silent. They are there just to observe. They are never allowed to speak. And then I've been to school board meetings where the guests have the freedom to raise their hand and ask questions and be able to insert. So I would like to know just tell me everything that you saw at that school board meeting. For each one, you may do you're doing 2 different board meetings. So you might do 1 paragraph about this board meeting and a second paragraph about the next board meeting. Or you may compare and contrast, do a comparison. How are the 2 board meetings alike? How are they different? That would work especially if you go to 2 different school districts. The final paragraph of this one is your opinion and your thoughts concerning the issues that you saw, the issues listed above. Also, the issues that they dealt with within the school board meeting. What were your thoughts about that? Did you realize that sort of information was discussed at a board meeting? And again, this should be an MLA format. I want you to attach the copy of this sheet. The sign-in sheet for this, you can attach that as 1 sheet at the end, or 2 or 3 sheets all at the end of the packet. But this one could be signed either by the superintendent or a board member, that just to affirm that your attendance was there at that board meeting. Okay. The final essay that you have to write is in regards to the extracurricular activities. And this is where you lump it all together. You introduce it by telling me all the different activities that you attended, ball games, concerts, etc. In the body, you need to explain each activity that you attended and tell me what you saw there. In the final paragraph, I want your opinion and your thoughts concerning what you saw occur at the board or at the extracurricular activities. For example, if you're at a ball game and there's a group of rowdy students, what do the teachers do in response to that? What does administration do in response? And do the parents, how do the parents respond according to the disruptive behaviors of some of the students? Again, this should be an MLA format. An administrator must sign off, a teacher or an administrator must sign off on your sheet, your log sheet, that you attended this particular ball game.
It's 12 o'clock.
Okay, I need to wrap this up. This is your log sheet, and as you can see, you might need to make an additional copy of this log sheet because you might have many events going on that you need to attend and not enough space. I have had students that made a log sheet strictly for the classroom observations, a separate one for the extracurricular, and then an even separate one for the school board meetings. I'm okay with that. If you're as organized as I am and you need to have that separation, that's great. You must have submit to me, and I will have this designated as an assignment for next week. You must submit to me proof of your immunization records and a TB clearance. So you will need to go get a TB test. Okay? And I will need those TB test results as well as your immunization shot records. I need to have a copy of those on file. And again, you can just make a copy of that, make a copy of your TB test results, and you'll submit both of those as one assignment. As I said, I will set that assignment up next week. This is the website that you go to. You must complete the FBI fingerprinting background check online. You complete the application and you pay the fee of $35 online, and you will print out a receipt of that FBI fingerprinting. You print out the receipt proving that you have paid that, and then you will take that receipt to the North Central Arkansas Education Co-op, which is right across the road from Ozarka College. If you tell them that you're in the Ozarka College Teacher Education Program, your fingerprints are supposed to be free at the co-op. Now, you do have to pay online for ADE to run through FBI your fingerprints. So you have to pay that fee of $35 online, print out the receipt, and then take it to the co-op. This is the form that you will need for the DHS child maltreatment. This part right here is an explanation telling you step 1, step 2, step 3. Here is the actual form. You will need to print this form, physically fill out this form. You are to list all the children that you are responsible for in your home. Completely fill out this. Do not sign. Completely fill out this form, but do not sign and date until you are in the presence of a notary public. This has to be notarized in order for the background check to run on you for child maltreatment. So in the presence of a notary public, and we do have one on campus here at Ozarka if you need to go that route. You can also go to your local bank. There's a notary public that works at every bank. And you may know of another location that you can find a notary public. But in the presence of the notary public, you will sign and date, and then they will sign and date and fill out their information. And they will then put the seal on it. You do not write anything below this line right here. This will be filled out as after it is sent in. Okay? So that is your packet, your observation packet. You have to get your shot records on file before I can let you go into the school system, and you have to have your TB test results on file, plus your FBI background check on file. I will run those checks through ADE. Once they have been mailed in, I'll usually wait about 2 weeks, and then I start running background checks through ADE to see if your background check is cleared. You will not get any paperwork or any notification unless there is a problem, but typically you don't get any notification. I will run those checks on you and get the documents that I need to put in your file indicating, and I promise I will let you know if you are denied. We will have to back up because you cannot go into the school system if you cannot clear a background check, and you cannot pass this class if you cannot go into the school system and do your observations. Okay, so this is your observation packet. Certainly, please ask me if you have any questions. The final thing that I want to cover is the rubric by which you will be graded. This rubric is very detailed. I am going to be grading you on your appearance, and I will get that information from the feedback on the evaluation forms. Punctuality, teacher candidate, your punctuality. Did you come early? Were you late? Were you constantly late? Professionalism, how did you conduct yourself? Again, I will find this out from the teachers with whom you worked and observed. The paperwork, this is the part where your FBI fingerprinting, your child maltreatment, as well as your shot records. I have received all of those within the due date. Not the clearance, but you have proven to me that you have submitted for clearance. Okay. Your 30 hours of observation, did you complete all 30? Okay, and if you did not complete, if you completed half or less, you cannot pass. If you completed almost all of it, you can barely pass, okay? Your written essays, again, I'm reiterated that you have to do the classroom observations essay, the school board meeting essay, and the extracurricular activities essay. The teacher evaluations, I will factor into what the teachers have said, as well as the principal. Sometimes I hear from a principal. The sign-in sheets, those are your log sheets. Every time you went to a classroom or an event, you have your log sheet signed. Your observation schedule, as I said, you are going to be submitting very soon after I release you to go into the school. I'll have an assignment that you have to submit back to me, your observation schedule, indicating that you have contacted and you've set up all of your observations, and they are mapped out. So make sure that you stay on top of that. And then your final exam is the mock interview with me, and that's where I look for all the other material in addition to the completed portfolio packet regarding the observations. Your final is also merged with the mock interview, and these are the items that I'll look for in that, and we will talk more about that at a later setting. But right now, first and foremost, begin getting those shot records, those TB tests, and those background checks. If you have any questions, please call my office or send me an email, and I will be glad to answer all of your questions. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I look forward to visiting with you regarding your observations very